there's a jersey sold, an official jersey sold every 15 seconds. And so if you think about the power of the brand strength that we're going to get from Snapdragon connected to Manchester United and that work and that partnership, that's just some starter examples of how a marketer would measure the impact of a partnership.
What's the favorite TV show you're watching right now?
Suits. I love the clothes, I love the content, I love the smartness of it. My daughter and I are watching it together.
That filmed quite a long time ago.
Yes, it did.
So you're just catching up to it now?
I have time to watch it now.
Oh, I see. I'm here in Cannes with Carmen True from Qualcomm. Carmen, thanks for joining us in this wonderful place.
Thank you, Ricky.
We wanted to talk today about how do you, at Qualcomm or in previous life, build cultural moments through brand partnerships? How do you do that?
Yeah, so it's a very important topic for us at Qualcomm. And actually, it's an interesting element because at Qualcomm, we have two brands. We actually have our main corporate brand, which is Qualcomm.
Right.
And then we decided strategically to add a consumer brand as well, which is Snapdragon. And so through that process of building the Snapdragon brand, as an organization, we had to look at with who we are and what we have the opportunity to do, as well as budgets and financial, what would be the best way for us to actually start to bring cultural affinity to a new brand, which is Snapdragon. And in that process, we actually mapped out very different ways that we could go about that work. Wow. And we don't call them sponsorships, we called them branded partnerships. And through that engagement, that's how we actually decide and looking at the core things that resonate for our core customer base, which branded partnerships make sense to us.
So actually, there's a question there. So is it about your core customer base? Is it about your value proposition? Like, how do you align up? How do you align the brand or the cultural moment alongside your brand and your value proposition?
Yeah, so we really started out with this in the mobile phone space.
Right.
So very specifically, we've had a longstanding relationship with ESL, and that was around mobile gaming. And so what we saw was an affinity around what our core product offering is and the power behind a Snapdragon processor in the phone, the mobile environment of that, and the core brand tenet we have that is the power to move you. Like, what are those emotional connections? Right. Very deep elements that people get passionate about. And so that helped to start a framework. And ESL was potentially the one that we invested in the most first. And through that, we actually learned the power of how this can come together for us at Qualcomm. And so we did ESL, and that ESL Gaming League is the largest mobile sports gaming league that exists today. And that's all through partnership with ESL.
I'm really glad you said that. I was going to say, for everyone that doesn't know what ESL is, please tell them, but I'm glad you said that.
Yes.
So outside of ESL, some people might not know, some people will. Talk about some other branded cultural moments that, Qualcomm have invested in, because I think you've gone down quite a few angles, right?
Yes. So I would say that we have one that we love the most at the moment. And we're coming up on just in a few days here after Cannes, where we're going to announce even an extension of that, a partnership, and that is with Manchester United. So we've had a deal with Manchester United for a little while now, and very specifically chose Manchester United because of the global reach of their brand and the affinity about it. And again, also the passion for the brand and the franchise themselves and the team overall. And when you looked at the demographic of who they bring to their fan base, it's significant. 1.1 billion fans all around the world. And in key markets that matter to us, where we're trying to grow our brand and where we have cultural affinity. And so China specifically is one market where there is huge cultural affinity for Snapdragon now. People go in and ask for a Snapdragon branded device. And it's an element that we wanted to make sure we were connecting in with that fan base that we want to grow all around the world. And Manchester United's been a great partnership and a great partner for us. When you think about these types of arrangements, you can end up with a partner that doesn't lean into you, or you're leaning into them, or they're overleaning. And it's just been a really great match of a partnership. And so much so that on July 1st, we're actually launching where Snapdragon will be the front of shirt partner for Manchester United. And we're only the 7th one ever to have that spot. We're very excited about it, have a lot of things linked up to that activity. So, and just to give an idea, there is a jersey sold, an official jersey sold every 15 seconds. And so if you think about the power of the brand strength that we're going to get from Snapdragon connected to Manchester United and that work and that partnership, that's just, some starter examples of how a marketer would measure the impact of a partnership.
Well, I guess, so as an Arsenal fan, that does not give me much joy. But I understand.
You're a Snapdragon fan.
I'm a Snapdragon fan.
Totally
I'm an
a
Android
Snapdragon fan.
But
We'll get you a jersey. You might not wear it.
I will not.
But, we're going to have it in your drawer.
Yeah.
It'll be there for you.
No, it will not happen. Just FYI, anyone, I will not do that. I love you, Arsenal. So let me ask you another question, because you mentioned it a bunch of times now, right? You lightly discussed sponsorships, and then you went and said it's more than a sponsorship. Then you talked about branded partnerships, and you said Manchester United is a true partnership.
Yes.
So talk to me about the difference between how you determine a sponsorship and how you determine a genuine partnership. What does that mean? Because I think people watching this will be thinking, isn't that just a sponsorship with the shirt logo? So tell me what you mean by partnership. Tell everyone what you mean by that.
Yeah, so slapping a logo on something and having no connection with it holistically, that's kind of more in that sponsorship realm.
Right.
And that's something that just as marketers and also our partners together, we have to break through and show the other elements of what we can do together. So one of the extremely powerful things about Manchester United and that partnership is the strength of their entire activation team that comes around that. So even around certain events, like they have the tour that goes around the world, all of those different events, they actually have the opportunity to activate with your brand in all of those places. So you really have to choose to not just do the deal to become a partner, but decide on how you're going to activate around that. And providing those unique opportunities, the right type of partner will actually know how to help you be able to do that. So even the example of here at Cannes, we had a very prominent Manchester United player that came and talked with Don McGuire on stage. It was a very well-attended session. At that, we had the opportunity to preview what is going to be our launch sizzle video for the new front of shirt engagement. There are also elements where we have a unique Snapdragon Insiders program where we have 15 million Snapdragon Insiders around the world. And we provide very unique behind the scenes opportunities for those insiders with Manchester United that they would never have access to in any other way. And then they actually take that and have full authority to, republish that, purpose it out, and really extend the reach of the contract from a marketing perspective. And they are fantastic marketers as well. So we have this wonderful marriage of partnership between what our marketing objectives with our partner, and we do that together.
Interesting. So Arsenal, if you're watching, do that and get Qualcomm on board. So let me ask you a different question then. So in commercial, obviously a big part of what your role is. In the commercial space or in the B2B space, are there ways in which you're thinking about either Manchester United or other cultural branded partnerships that you could leverage either from a cultural perspective or not? Are there other ones for commercial specifically?
Yes. So I think an interesting play about it from a technology brand perspective is that we have the opportunity to integrate technology into the workflows of these teams and or whatever partners you want to have. So another example is our Formula One sponsorship with Mercedes. And that is a huge element where you can see the interconnection of the technology that goes on, and you can actually create use cases and stories about the technology integration that then from a marketing perspective, we can then take and activate and utilize that in our brand, in our commercial demand generation activities. Same thing with Manchester, depending upon what type of our technology or services we integrate, then we can take that and amplify it and use it as use cases. Most times people think about it's ticket sales and inviting people to events and you're going to close a deal. Sure, there's that part of it too, but that's to a small element of it. It's how do you take it and amplify it for the commercial audience?
And have you got an idea or are you starting to think, or maybe something along those lines, of how you take it even further than what we've just discussed? Because I guess a lot of brands would probably say, well, the hospitality angle would be the number one angle. I think then the content angle will probably come next. Have you got any ideas of what you're going to do further than that? Or is that something you're in discussion with Manchester United on? Or
we're definitely in discussion on it. Nothing I can disclose at this moment, but I think more things will be coming.
Okay. So you touched again on something else earlier. You said, you talked about measurement. If I think about all the clients that we have as an example, one of the things that comes up a lot is, how do I justify it? So in fact, I have one specific client in mind who also sponsored an F1 racing company, a racing team, and recently pulled back from it. And I think I know one of the reasons was justification to the board around what that spend actually does for that brand. How do you guys justify that to the board, or to the CEO? How do you justify that? How do you report on it?
Sure. So I think there's a couple elements that have to be really synced up in this process. And that is the understanding about what the value of a brand brings to a company. And so for us at Qualcomm, we understand that the value of our brand helps drive price premium. And that's the objective of what we're looking to do with our Snapdragon brand. And in that process, by elevating that up and giving it the visibility on these really key big stages that are out there with our core customer bases, that's how we can bring that forward in a way that in all reality is potentially more economically feasible than if we were to go out and do a bunch of ATL and big media spend. So a very important metric that we like to use is, in essence, all the times that will be seen on front of shirt is that for what we paid or what we're getting out of that, every single time it's shown is equivalent to one Super Bowl from a United States perspective. So if you take that, that's 42 Super Bowl coverages. That is huge when you think about what it would cost to produce an ad, to actually have that go through, buy it, the fact that the Super Bowl only happens once a year. So in this situation, by leveraging such an amazing powerhouse of potentially, the number one fan base in the world, which is Manchester United, then we get the power of all of that, plus the co-connection with that brand and having that elevate to the stage that we want Snapdragon to be known for. And that's a huge connection. So the brand power in building that is known by your executive team, then all those parts start to make sense when you pick the right partner. So sometimes you might have picked the wrong partner, and we've had some learnings about that as well. So it's really about picking that right partner.
Talk about that, the wrong partner. You don't need to disclose who the wrong partners are, but as an example, what are some of the things you learned when you picked the wrong partner? What are some of the watch outs that people might need to think about when they pick partners?
Yeah, I think it's really understanding what the value is that you're going to get out of the deal, what you can do for them and what they can do for you, and making sure you're really selective of that in agreement. The negotiation process is obviously very tedious, stressful. Lots of personality goes into that from whichever organization you're choosing or looking at, as well as your own. You have to negotiate through that. And sometimes the deals are really just not structured in a way where you're getting the best value out. And by experiencing that and knowing it, you're going to start to feel it right away if people are loving it. Are you doing a good job from a marketing perspective, providing those opportunities or not? So what's your brand placement like? How are they engaging with you as a partner? Are they responsive? Do they understand your business and are they leaning into that? We can definitely think of partnership opportunities where we felt like it was just, I'm not saying Qualcomm specifically, but in my career, paying money and not really getting anything in return. And those are the ones that right away start showing to the board or the CEO that there's not something in that partnership that's good for you. And in that situation, I think you do have to look at yourself as a marketer and say, did I structure the right deal? Did I put it together in the right way? And own that piece, because that's our role from a marketing organization, to set up the right partnerships in the right way and make sure that they're very valuable. And so we've been very selective at Qualcomm which ones we're using because of that experience we have on our team.
Interesting. Well, look, thank you very much for that. If you had one last bit of advice, and maybe the last bit was the last bit of advice, but is there anything that marketers that are thinking about cultural moments and branded partnerships need to be thinking about? If there was one sentence?
One sentence.
It can be more than one sentence if you want.
I think first you have to be super tuned into what actually is going on out there and be super aware of what meets your actual audience and not get sucked in by just who's available at the moment and signing up with the first person that comes around, because that may not actually be the best for you. And you can be more detrimental to yourself as a marketer by selling something in that's really not that great. So you have to really own that piece and set up the right partnership with the right organization, and it can do wonders for you. The wrong one can have the exact opposite effect. So just be super smart about that deal.
Thank you, Carmen. Really good having you on. Love the fact that you're color coordinated. And
this is Snapdragon Red.
Oh, Snapdragon Red. Right. That's right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.